All right, if you will rise and join us in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good evening and welcome to the April meeting for the Philipstown Town Board. This is the regular town board, so if you're here for the main event, item 16, you're going to have to wait and see the other things we'll be doing. Really doesn't feel like April, does it? A little raw out there today. Tina, you want to? Microphone.
Sorry. First item is an honorary resolution for Alessandra Rocco, recipient of the 2017 Youth Award.
So if Alessandra's here, if she would come up, we'll... Oh, okay. So...
Want to give it to Mom?
Yeah, I would present it to you then. I mean, if you would come up, I'd love to come around. So this is one of the great things we get to do in town, to recognize youth here in town and also just the great people who live here. Whereas all across the country, youth volunteers are serving as a catalyst for our community, whereas our youth volunteer force is a great treasure, and whereas they dedicate time and resources to their community and find opportunities to make a difference in the lives around them. And whereas Alessandra Larocco has graciously donated her time and talent volunteering as a science program instructor at Nora Cronin School, volunteered in the Therapeutic Equestrian Center, math and science tutor at the San Miguel School in Newburgh, and participated in the Hudson Valley Shakespeare Festival Teen Revelers program. I don't know how they do it. I'm tired just reading it. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the town of Philipstown urges our citizens to recognize the endeavors made by our youth volunteers to enhance the quality of life in our community. Be it further resolved that we, the undersigned members of the town board and town officers of the town of Philipstown, do hereby inscribe upon the minutes of the town records our sincere congratulations to Alessandra Larocco upon her giving of herself to our community. Thank you. Yeah. So if I get a motion from the town board on this? Second? All in favor? And I vote aye.
The next item,
I want to see you vote against that one.
honorary resolution for Ruby McGowan, recipient of the 2017 Youth Award.
Is Ruby here? Hey. Nice to see you. How are you?
Good, how are you?
I'm going to go right ahead and read this again. Whereas all across the country, youth volunteers are serving as a catalyst for our community, and whereas our youth volunteer force is a great treasure, and whereas they dedicate time and resources to their community and find opportunities to make a difference in the lives around them, and whereas Ruby McEwen has graciously donated her time and talent volunteering and co-organizer of the Outrun Autism 5K Run Walk at Haldane School, volunteered at the Shenandoah Nation Park in Virginia to remove invasive growth and preserve native trees, co-founded Women Empowered Group Cause for Human Rights, and president and organizer for Reaching Out for Animal Rights Club called ROAR. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the town of Philipstown urges our citizens to recognize the endeavors made by our youth volunteers to enhance the quality of life in our community. Be it further resolved that we, the undersigned members of the town board and town officers of the town of Philipstown, do hereby inscribe upon the minutes of our town records our sincere congratulations to Ruby McEwen upon her giving of herself to our community. Can I get a motion on the resolution? Second. All in favor? Aye. And I vote aye.
The next Item is honorary resolution for Brent Grafter receiving the Eagle Scout Award.
Is Brent here? Where are you, Brent? Pardon me? Face the camera. Okay, sorry about that. Okay, whereas throughout its long and distinguished history, Boy Scouts of America has inspired millions of boys with the highest ideals of character, conduct, and patriotism. Whereas through scouting, every boy everywhere grows strong, gains self-confidence, and skills for success. And whereas Brent Grafer is a member of Troop 45 and has not only proven himself to be an outstanding member of the Boy Scouts of America, he has attained the highest honor bestowed on a scout, the Eagle Scout Award. For anyone who's not familiar with that, it's really, really difficult to attain this. Whereas the Boy Scout program not only reflects the enduring values and standards that have been part of this organization, but also lends itself to the special and unique situation of our young people in the new millennium. Whereas Brent completed a rebuild of a community garden at the Hamilton Fish Library in Garrison and conducted a fundraiser for monies needed for the materials needed to rebuild the garden. Now, therefore, the town of Philipstown urges our citizens to recognize the accomplishments of Brent Grafer in helping to make our community one of the more thriving and vibrant. Now, therefore, be it resolved that we, the town board of the town of Philipstown, officers of the town, do hereby inscribe upon the minutes our official acts and congratulations to Brent for his accomplishment. Congratulations, Brent. Could I get a motion on the resolution? So moved. Second? Second. All in favor? Aye. And I vote aye. We have one more.
Next is a resolution honoring Reverend John and Elsie Benton, founders of the Walter Hoving Home.
I wish John Benton was here.
Yeah, you just got me.
I played baseball. Well, that's even better.
Okay.
Of course, we have that. Whereas in 1967, Reverend John Benton and his wife Elsie founded the Walter Hoving Home in Garrison, New York, and under their leadership, the Walter Hoving Home expanded to California in 1984 and a third home in Las Vegas in 2006. And whereas the philosophy of the Walter Hoving Home has been that they believe in the potential of each individual, as the Lord said, we are the light of the world and the salt of the earth. And whereas the belief of the potential of each person, we believe in the giftedness of each person, whereby making it the responsibility of the Walter Hoving Home to help the person find their giftedness. And whereas the Walter Hoving Home's objective is to help the ladies develop independent thinking and feel secure in the manner that they were treated. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the town hereby recognizes the Bentons who have given a genuine love and concern for the addicted and bound by drugs and alcohol to the young women who are in such desperate need of the compassion and discipline provided by the Walter Hoving Home. Be it further resolved that the town board and its residents congratulate Reverend John Benton and his wife Elsie on their extraordinary efforts that have saved women in crisis on this 50th anniversary of the Walter Hoving Home. Congratulations, guys. Can I get a motion on the resolution? Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And I vote aye. Thank you. Thank you so much. Let Tina know that.
Do we want to make the announcement about this?
Yeah, I will. Yeah. Boy, if we go home now, it'd be a perfect evening. I understand that the Garden Club wants to go ahead with the presentation.
We have one resolution prior to that.
Okay.
And that's the resolution declaring April 2017 as Teen Driver Safety Awareness Month in the town of Philipstown. I believe we've done this like 3 years in a row.
Right. This is something we do every year since its inception, declaring Teen Driver Safety Awareness Month in April. This is presented by the sheriff, so I'm not going to read through the whole thing in the interest of time, but could I get a motion on the resolution?
So moved.
Second. All in favor? Aye. And I vote aye. Thank you.
Review the minutes.
Right. Review of the minutes, monthly town board meeting of March 2nd, 2017.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I vote aye. Bid opening of March 15th, 2017, the Dahlia House Town Annex. I don't know if anybody was there, but we can approve the bid opening as to form. Can I get a motion on the bid opening as to form? Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I vote aye. Bid opening of March 22nd for the roller for highway.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And I vote aye. Who was there that day? We were all there, right? Special meeting of March 28th, 2017.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And I vote aye. Thank you. Committee reports, Conservation Board.
Okay, the Conservation Board met on March 28th. There was a delay because of the weather. It basically had one application. That's the Spano, that's the Cybercom project building that's up on 9, for those that are familiar with that. This is an ongoing discussion. Basically, pretty much, it involves DOT because the front entrance was going to be moved at one point, and then the applicant has changed their position on that and is discussing that with the wetlands inspector. The property is unique because it has DEC wetlands around it. The wetlands inspector is on schedule to meet with the DEC to review the plans for the front area of change and also to review its own lands, which sit next to it, going actually north and across the street. Also, there were some discussions at length about what kind of plantings are being put in, and there were some recommendations put in for that. I would ask also at this time that the MS4 report, which is an annual report which deals with separate stormwater, it mainly comprises Continental Village, but we do discuss annually, and we do every month at the Conservation Board, we discuss stormwater. If you have any questions or comments about stormwater and you'd like to be heard, I would ask the board, because we will present this to Richard Shea for his review of the draft. It will then be placed online for review prior to the meeting, but I would ask that we would have a meeting, a public hearing in May to discuss this so that we would be on target to incorporate any comments that were raised by it, and then final adoption towards the end of May and submit by the required deadline of June 1st.
Thank you, Mike. So we'll go ahead and get that done. Tina, I guess you can advertise for that meeting for the adoption of the MS4.
We'll set the date when we schedule meetings?
Yes.
Okay.
Thanks, Mike. Recreation.
The Recreation Commission has not met since our last meeting. They had to cancel last Tuesday due to a scheduling problem, and they're attempting to reschedule it.
What'd you do that night?
Coach.
Not much.
But I do have a note about our recreation director who was appointed to the Putnam County Emergency Preparedness Committee this week's legislature meeting. Amber has done a lot as far as attending trainings and advising the town in emergency preparedness, and she's they're thrilled to have her. The Director of Emergency Services, Tony Sutton, couldn't be happier than to have someone from our side of the town, especially Amber with her expertise on the board. So she'll be here actually next month to discuss her role in that.
All right. Thank you. Recycling.
I got something, Richard, for
Yeah.
recycling. As you know, the last several years, we haven't had a cleanup day in the town of Philipstown. When I was running for election a couple of years ago, a lot of people brought it up to my attention. So this year, instead of having a cleanup day, we made arrangements with Royal Karting up in East Fishkill area, up on Route 52, is it 82, to get vouchers for people in Philipstown to go up there. So we set aside an X amount of money, so we have about 330 vouchers that we can get so you can go up there with a voucher, stop by the town hall with proof of where you live. Tina will issue a voucher. You can go up to Royal and get 500 pounds of debris for free. Okay? If you have more than 500 pounds on your truck or whatever else, you have to pay the differential over that 500 pounds. So this is something that we try to implement every year. So this is the first year we're going to try to do it. So I encourage people to use the vouchers. And if we don't use that many this year, that means we're not going to put that much money in the budget for next year.
All right. Thanks, Bob. Thank you to Councilman Flaherty for spearheading that issue. I know a lot of people enjoy that program. We're just not able to put the dumpsters out anymore. I always wondered where all this stuff came from, though. Planning Board.
Planning Board, okay. I attended the Planning Board on March 16th. was a very full agenda. We had 3 public hearings. The first public hearing was Kristen Sorensen, 1000 Albany Post Road in Garrison. This is for a lot line adjustment. They were also, at the zoning board, and we approved 2 variances. The public hearing was closed at that particular time. There was no public comment or no comment from the board, so the board closed the public hearing, and they will seek approval at next planning board meeting, which is scheduled for April the 20th. Other public hearing was Griffin Landscape, 3032 Route 9 in Cold Spring. The planning board approved their site plan. Next thing on the agenda was Westchester Marsden Homes, David and Johanna Brenner, 530 East Mountain Road South, of Cold Spring. Board declared a necklace seeker and approved their site plan as well. Other things on the agenda were Stonecrop Garden. They've been through the planning board for several months now. They're having a building burnt down there quite some time ago, and they're in the process of rebuilding a new building. The main issue we have up there right now, the handicap parking, where they're proposing the handicap parking for this new building, is pretty far away from it. So the planning board is looking to have some other options or alternatives presented to them over the next meeting, hopefully the next month. They'll come up with some alternative plans of where they're going to parking. They did ask for a public hearing for next month, but that was denied. Next on the agenda was Hudson Highlands Reserve, Route 9 Horton Road. Again, that's another that's been through the planning board for quite some time now as well. They did they give a presentation, but under the circumstances that they asked for a density calculation for several months, and that has not been provided to the planning board. So the planning board let them present their findings, but they had no comments at it. So they're going to have to come revisit us, and hopefully they're going to have their density calculations to present it to the planning board. New business, Index Industrials, 1602 Route 9 in Garrison. Mr. Grasso is an applicant seeking an approval for a proposed 2-story steel building addition with a full basement, storage, garage adjacent to his existing building. The board declared this a major project, and it was a site visit for April 9th at 9:30. John and Kimberly Sabatini, 101 Diggs Castle Road. They had an approved site plan back in May of 2016. They're in front of the board this month to seek a revision. They're going to reduce the amount of square feet from 1,492 to 1,206. Also, during that process, the planning board had a little issue with a road they were going to put in for construction, so that road is going to be eliminated now as well. So the planning board is very pleased to see that. This was declared a minor project, and a public hearing is not necessary. Jeremy and Amir Sampson, 362 West Point Road, Garrison, applicant seeking the division of lands. A public hearing will be scheduled for next month's planning board meeting. Last on the agenda was Rockman and Brisquet, 67 Old West Point Road. The applicant is seeking approval for a new residential estate, which includes a main house, a detached garage, a guest house, a pool house, and an outdoor house. This is adjacent to Graymore area. This was declared a major project, and the planning board declared themselves as a lead agency. Meeting was adjourned at 10:05. Again, the next planning board meeting is April 20th, 7:30, Butterfield Library.
Thank you, Bob. Zoning.
The zoning board met on March 13th. The minutes and the video is available online. There was one review for application for Essex Green Incorporated, Douglas Lane. Ms. Green is looking to build a house on a lot that is partially in the village of Nelsonville in the town of Philipstown. The town denied a permit due to a front yard setback regulation. A discussion followed, and the ZBA chair recommended that the applicant receive approval from the village of Nelsonville, then return to the town ZBA for a variance. Next item was a continuation of a public hearing. Carolyn Garcia, 25 Mountain Drive, Garrison. Applicant seeks a side yard setback. This application was approved unanimously. The next was a public hearing for Allspan LLC, 2700 Route 9 in Cold Spring. Allspan also seeks a side yard setback for a building already built. The public hearing was held, and the appeal was approved unanimously. Next was another review for application for Stonecrop Gardens, 81 Stonecrop Lane, Cold Spring. The applicant seeks a variance of 7 feet from the height restriction for a proposed building. The application was deemed complete and scheduled for a public hearing on Monday, April 24th, which will be the next meeting of the zoning board.
That's it. All right. Thank you, John. We will be rearranging the agendas to anyone who's feeling angst about the length of what could happen before we get to item 16. So we're going to go, what we'll probably do is go to item 6. We'll have the presentation, and then we'll go right to item 16 after that. So
I want to give a coalition report before this,
before,
that.
oh, okay, all right. Highway.
This is Philipstown Town Board members. Carl Frazenda, Highway Superintendent. Work performed by the Philipstown Highway Department for the month of March. March brought Winter Storm Stella, a true nor'easter, blizzard in every sense. The storm brought up to 3 feet of snow in some areas, along with wind gusts over hurricane force on March 14th and 15th. And I'd like to thank the highway crew for their tireless effort, working nonstop throughout the storm to keep the roads open for emergency vehicles and the public. With spring comes many road projects for the Highway Department. The crews will now switch gears to repairing roads from the winter. This includes grading the dirt, filling in potholes, and repair to storm drains, curbs, and gutters. We ask residents to be aware of any bushes, branches, or trees on their property along the road which may create any hazardous conditions for drivers, especially bamboo. If you have planted bamboo, it is your responsibility to maintain it. Please remove or trim them all season long for the safety of motorists. A bid went out for a used roller and was awarded to United Rentals. The new roller is expected to be put in good use very soon. The Avery Road Bridge project went out to bid and has now been awarded to Landworks Excavating. This project will include the Horton Road abutment. Notifications will be given to residents prior to the commencement of work. A new F-550 truck, which was budgeted for us in the 2017 budget, has arrived. It will be a much welcomed and necessary addition to the aging fleet. We continue to wait on permits for work to begin on Manitou Station Road. The department received 30 phone calls regarding road complaints and issues from the month of March. The Highway Department has spent roughly $5,400 in vehicle maintenance for the month of March, above monthly account submitted by Carl Frazenda, Highway Superintendent.
Thank you. Thanks for the color commentary on the storm. That was invigorating.
Carl's writing, I guess.
That's right. Building and Land, we will be awarding the bid for the Town Hall Annex tonight. That's item 14 for anybody who wants to hang around later on. That's going to be very exciting, too. Could I get the Coalition That Cares report?
Sure, I just wanted to mention a couple of things about the Philipstown Cares Coalition. As you all know, it's a group of community members made up of elected officials, school superintendents, principals, teachers, law enforcement, and most of all, who do all the legwork are parents and some teens involved. They had a really successful meeting last week where they showed a documentary to address the crisis. I attended a roundtable at the Garrison School last week where the Putnam County DA and the sheriff and the Haldane School Board and other experts in the field just, sort of sat around and addressed the crisis through a lot of philosophical reasons about why our kids are on drugs, and it's time to really get to not so much why our kids are on drugs, because we all understand that issue now. I think our kids are in the ground, and it's time that we as a community really start addressing it through law enforcement, treatment, and most of all, prevention. Tomorrow at the Garrison School, we're really fortunate to have a former Cold Spring resident who is also now the chief of police in Burlington, Vermont. He's going to present a roundtable conversation, more of just a conversation regarding the crisis. This was a last minute. Really, we're fortunate to have him come in tomorrow at the Garrison Library from 9 to 10 a.m. So just wanted to keep you guys all aware of what's happening with the great work of this coalition, and to please get involved if you can.
Thank you, Nancy.
Oh, and there's a Narcan training at the North Highlands Firehouse on April 29th, right?
Thank you. Putnam County Legislator. Turn that back around toward you if you want.
Do I have to talk this way or talk that way? Okay, I'll call it this way. I know we have a big agenda tonight, so I just grabbed a few things off the county legislator agenda for last Tuesday that I thought would be of interest. One is, I know there's been a lot of concern over the barges, the proposed plan of the Coast Guard to park barges up and down our river. The Putnam County has joined the Hudson River Watershed Alliance. This was created in recognition of the concern for the economic vitality, environmental health, and the public safety of the Hudson River and its communities. This organization's committed to the collaborative examination of local and regional impacts of the proposed anchored sites, to provide information regarding the proposals to residents, and to utilize its collective resources to protect and preserve the interest of the Hudson River communities. As of now, there's over 30 towns and villages up and down the river that have joined this coalition, and the county has now joined. There's no monetary commitment. It's more, there's more bang for your buck if you have more people behind you. And I think if you would consider joining, I'd be happy to give you the information. It's very simple, just pass a resolution, and you'll be informed on what's really happening. So I think that's a very good idea for us. And the other bill, it's approval and support of state legislation introduced to safeguard the Hudson. This bill was written with the assistance of Scenic Hudson, and on March 13th and the 21st, Sue Serino and Assemblyman member Deanie Barrett proposed legislation 5197A, which seeks to safeguard the Hudson River by bolstering the state's ability to exercise its jurisdiction over the river. This would amend the state's navigation law relating to the establishment of tanker avoidance zones to consider waterfront communities and the significant natural habitats in addition to navigational safety. It's taking it more off the federal plane and giving the power to the states. And it's our river, and we should have complete control over it, or at least more control than we do now. And things like this might not come to pass if we have more control. So I was very excited about this bill. It looks good. It's picking up a lot of interest. So keep your fingers crossed. I'll keep you posted. And the only other thing I wanted to bring up was we approved and memorialized support of the Senate Bill S-1411 and Assembly Bill 7111 to amend the Volunteer Firefighters Benefit Law in relation to the expansion of coverage to include cancer of the lymphatic and hematological systems, the digestive, urinary, prostate, neurological, breast, reproductive systems, or melanoma. Why doesn't volunteer firefighters have the same benefits as paid firefighters? It only makes sense. So they put their life on the line, even though they're volunteers, every time they go into a building and inhale what's burning. So I think this is a very good bill, and we totally support it. And I think that's about it for today.
Thanks, Barbara. Cemetery Committee.
Okay, the Cemetery Committee met on March 28th. For those that don't realize, obviously, a little more than a year ago, we started a cemetery committee. Anybody that's been in the village of Cold Spring knows that the two cemeteries, Mountain Avenue and Cedar Street, which border basically the school, I think a lot of positive comments have come back. I think if you take a look now at the Mountain Avenue Cemetery, you clearly noticed the improvements that we've made to the graves. All right, that particular cemetery goes back to 1750. It's the oldest, and being able to restore those graves is a real honor, and the board has really stepped up. But we're going to be switching actually this month. The stonemason is actually going to switch now to the Cedar Street Cemetery because we'd like to try to see what we can do in that particular cemetery as well. We are looking also at a sign for the Mountain Avenue Cemetery. We really are trying to attract people. Obviously, there is a committee. We'd love people to join it. We do research. Our committee is fantastic for looking into things, how we can improve it. Certainly, private funding is welcome because we do want to do some wrought iron gate on top of the General Morris crypt, anyone that's ever walked that cemetery. Betty Butney did a tremendous amount of work there, but the wrought iron on top is expensive. If we could get private funding and maybe do it in sections, that would be fantastic. So you can send your donations to the town earmarked for the cemetery, and that would go towards that. So we would encourage you to join the committee and also to contribute. The other thing we had also, unfortunately, with the snow that John mentioned, is we had the school damaged one of the fences on the corner there that we had installed, and I had to reach out to them as well about, maybe they didn't realize, but dumping the snow over the fence, there is a number of graves right in that corner there. There's not a lot of space there. I mean, we all know that. Anybody that's had their kids there or whatever, it's difficult. But to maybe move it down the way and so forth, because we don't want to damage what we've done there. And those graves are very brittle. They're very old, and just sometimes putting your hand on them could break them. So it's try to make people mindful of that. The school kids who go in there and look at the cemeteries and help us out and ask questions about it, they were tempted to say, why couldn't you take the fence down? But unfortunately, if we took the fence down, I think we'd have more damage in that area, so we've conveyed that back to them. But we really would like to see more people if they could join the committee. I think it's a great thing for our community to honor our sacred dead. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you, Mike.
Okay, the next item, Karen Ertl to address the town board regarding Climate Smart Pledge.
Right before we go with Karen Earl, I'll let you know that we will be doing item 16 after this presentation, but we feel it's important to have this presentation.
Thank you for being so flexible. Everybody, doesn't want to miss the opportunity to have a crowd. And as we all know, so often, we're here by ourselves. So just so you know, my name is Karen Ertl, and I'm the Conservation Chairperson for the Philipstown Garden Club. We've actually been working with the board since January 2015, trying to find ways for them to highlight all the wonderful things that they really do to support the environment. In November of 2015, the Town Board of Philipstown passed Resolution 2015-2, which was the Comprehensive Environmental Policy Resolution. This resolution established the direction of the town of Philipstown in its efforts to protect clean air, clean water, while planning for sustainable development. And the Philipstown Garden Club would like to express our thanks and admiration to the members of the Philipstown Board for taking this step. But guess what? We're here. We're back. It's time to step up again. Regardless of its cause, climate is changing rapidly in dangerous ways. Extreme weather is the norm, glaciers are melting and seas are rising. The past winter in the United States was the warmest ever documented in the history of weather recording. Species are being eradicated while invasive plants and animals change our ecosystem. Our water is threatened by flammable oil barges, and our air and water supplies contaminated by methane and carbon dioxide. As you know, the 12-car derailment in Beacon, the 2.5 million gallons of oil that was just contained up in Catskill, the pipeline, many gas pipelines which threaten to crisscross our state, 10,000 people who responded to the Coast Guard proposal to put 50 mooring sites. They currently want to propose 10 more anchorage sites for large ships coming up and down the Hudson. And at the same time, there are proposed changes to the DEC environmental impact statement process, which would limit public access to new issues found during this preliminary investigation. If we adopt a course of action that includes behaviors which reduce solid pollution, create sustainable sources of energy, protect our air and water for future generations, the Garden Club says, where's the downside? When Michael R. Bloomberg addressed the China General Chamber of Commerce in December of 2016, he said, I am confident that no matter what happens in Washington, no matter what regulations the next administration adopts or rescinds, no matter what laws the Congress may pass, we will meet our pledges of the U.S. made in Paris. The reason is simple. Cities, businesses, and citizens will continue to reduce emissions because they have concluded that doing so is in their own best interest. The U.S. success in fighting climate change has never been primarily dependent on Washington. Over the past decade, Congress has not passed one single bill that takes direct action or aim at climate change. Yet at the same time, the U.S. has led the world in reducing emissions. And this progress will not be slowed because people are not letting up now. So the proposed federal government initiatives and budget reductions are causing local governments to define their priorities. And the Philipstown Garden Club is asking the town of Philipstown to join the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation and 196 other communities and become a Climate Smart partner. The Climate Smart Partnership is a coalition of local governments in New York State acting to positively impact climate change. It is a network of communities engaged in reducing greenhouse gas emissions and improving climate resilience. Climate-smart communities are working together to reduce the risk and long-term costs of climate change. Local governments are creating policies directly reduce fossil fuel consumption in municipal buildings and vehicles, improve solid waste management, adapt infrastructure and procedures to anticipate the effects of change as the climate warms, enabling climate-smart practices through land use plans, zoning, budgets, and efficient transportation codes. The New York State DEC states that a key local government role is leading, educating, and setting an example of energy efficiency and adaptation. The town of Philipstown has already taken many of the first steps towards a greener future. We are asking once again that you be courageous and lead the way. We are asking you, our local officials, to join with other communities who have pledged to work actively to reduce carbon dioxide, methane, and pollution, while enhancing community resilience, developing green, innovative economy, informing and inspiring the public to use less, and committing to the evolving process of climate change. We would still be the first in a town in Putnam County to join this, and we ask you to take the pledge and join with others who have discovered that being green is good business. Thank you.
Thank you.
Page 11.
Well, I think that, it would require a workshop that we should get together to see about an action plan. It's one thing to adopt the resolution, but another to say, okay, here's our marching orders, how are we going to accomplish some of this? So I have no problem adopting the resolution this evening, but I do want to follow up with a workshop so there's a plan of action. And we have done things in the town to, try to slow down climate change. Things with our buildings, things with efficiency, things with the vehicles we purchase, a lot of things along those lines. But we do want to do more, and thank you for urging us on.
This document that Karen read is also available online with our agenda material, if anybody wants to read it.
I think the idea of partnering with other towns is a great one. Yeah, I would. So we won't be adopting this tonight. We'll take a look at it. We'll have a workshop on it, and then we will formulate a plan of action. We will adopt this resolution in the near future, though. Oh, absolutely. No, we'll be looking for your input, definitely. So we'll schedule a workshop tonight, if you can make it. I mean, not for tonight, but we will do it when we schedule the meetings later on in the evening.
We schedule meetings later on in the meeting.
I'd be remiss if I didn't thank Dr. Bowers for making the auditorium available to us. So we want to thank the Haldane School and Dr. Bowers. Also want to thank Celia for getting here and setting up the AV equipment and the PA. The technical setup is not easy, even under the best of circumstances, so it's good that we get a record of these meetings, as we always do, and Celia does a great job for us, so thank you, Celia. With that, we're going to change up the agenda because, out of respect to everybody who's here, I think most people are here for item 16. We can stay until midnight and work on the other things. If you want to stay, you can stay. To open up with this, this has been an idea that's been presented to the town board, but it's also an idea that the town board had talked about in the past. It's something that I have thought long and hard about. We live in a great town. Nobody can deny that. And we are privileged to live here. That's something that after a while, people can take for granted, but it's something that you really need to take stock of, how fortunate we are to live where we live and to have all that we have. And You know, the values that are put forth in this equal protection resolution are things that I would say community members here, by and large, already adhere to and practice. There's nothing radical about this document. There's no departure from the norms of society. You know, I see it every day. I see people here helping each other every day. I see people go out of their way to help strangers. I've seen it out of the town. Now, I've been down in Manhattan at Grand Central and seen with my own eyes, a community member walking through Grand Central, handing out sandwiches to homeless people. Just walking by, not looking for recognition. This is something he probably does on a regular basis and had been doing. So I know this town is full of good people who have their hearts in the right place. And I know that our local law enforcement officials adhere to these values also. We don't have our law enforcement officials going around indiscriminately harassing people or asking for their status of their immigration or anything like that. What drives this for me is that it's important to reinforce those values as a community, to let people know where we stand, and to lead by example. I feel really strongly about that. Again, I don't see this as any sort of departure. We're not looking to obstruct law enforcement. We're not looking to obstruct the courts. It says so very explicitly in the document. I mean, most of the document, again, is a statement of values. What this also is a call to action for our federal officials to address the issue of immigration. It's important. It's been kicked down the road for far too long. And there are families that have lived here for generations that are still not documented. They're great people. They have families. They have kids who've gone through school. They're working. They're contributing to society. These people need to be brought in and made legal members of society. I will say that anyone who commits a crime is going to be prosecuted. This isn't a license to go commit crimes or to have people who are in this country who are undocumented committing crimes. If you commit a crime and you're undocumented, or if you're committing a crime in anybody, you're going to be prosecuted. That's a full stop. And if you happen to get deported because of that crime, those are the consequences of your actions. By and large, I do not see most of the immigrants in this country falling into that category. At our heart, everyone here, the core of this country, is all immigrants. Everyone here was an immigrant at one time. We need to remind ourselves of that. Some families have been here for generations. My family's been here for 5 generations. I still don't forget, and I'm reminded constantly that we came from Ireland. We have family that are still in Ireland. They came from Ireland to Cold Spring to work on the railroad and to work in the foundry. So sort of to kick this off, I would say, to reinforce again, to people who have been given much, much is expected in return. And to help the people who are most vulnerable and to support basic human dignity through our actions is vital at this time. I know we do it on a daily basis. Again, I've seen it. I know that the people in this town adhere to these, this set of values. We are not looking to run afoul of the law. It says so explicitly in this document. I think this document is extremely balanced, and I think it does make a statement of the values that we in this town adhere to. What I'd like to do is to invite people to speak. We'll hear from the public. At the end, the board members will make their positions clear on this after hearing from the public, and then we'll either, we'll vote on it, or we'll amend it, or we'll see how it goes. But with that, I have a speaker list here. The first speaker is Julia Famularo.
Thank you. It seems like the theme of the night is local control. My research into sanctuary city designations has led me to understand a few important points. One, sanctuary cities are legal. Were this not the case, the mayors in cities such as Las Vegas, New Orleans, Milwaukee, Philadelphia, and New York, as well as the governors of entire states, California and Connecticut, and many other places would be hauled off to jail. And as New York's own Attorney General Eric Schneiderman would not have written a guide addressing how sanctuary designations are written and implemented, but he did, and this is it. 2, unresolved immigration is a civil violation, not a criminal one. In Arizona v. United States, the U.S. Supreme Court determined that, quote, as a general rule, it is not a crime for a removable alien to remain present in the United States. 3, it is optional for towns or other municipalities to participate in these civil immigration processes. Attorney General Schneiderman's Sanctuary Guide provides model language relating to the business of law enforcement agencies and also offers guidance to municipalities who wish to write their own sanctuary resolutions. The guide talks about data collection and how immigration status should not affect an individual's access to programs and services, such as those found in our town hall, the rec department, and the libraries. The guide also offers model language to prevent the collection of information on the immigration status of people for a federal registry. Far from advising against sanctuary designation, our state attorney general has provided us with the guidebook on how to write one. The federal government wants state and local municipalities and law enforcement agencies to participate in its immigration data collection. It's a job that we are not required to do. Law enforcement agencies are often reluctant to comply because most of the folks are not breaking the law. It's a task that has nothing to do with keeping the peace, and there's no manpower to support it. It's an unfunded mandate. Municipalities have no reason to collect or keep data about its community members' immigration status. They don't consider it to be relevant. At the heart of this discussion about a sanctuary resolution is, I believe, how we express our values as a town and community. Until our immigration laws are sorted out, as you pointed out, we have friends and neighbors who do not need to be persecuted simply for their immigration status. I am grateful to the town board for exercising its option to not participate in the civil immigration process and for allowing Philipstown to express what I believe are our values of openness, tolerance, and non-discrimination. Thank you.
Well, one glaring omission is I would like to read the resolution into the record so that people can hear it and understand. The Philipstown Equal Protection Resolution, whereas it is incumbent upon me to put my glasses on, whereas it is incumbent upon us as citizens to keep safe those in our community that are most vulnerable and to ensure that they are given equal protection under the law, and whereas the town of Philipstown seeks to make clear our commitment to the rights of all members of our community, regardless of their race, religion, gender, ethnicity, sexual orientation, or immigration status. And whereas the town of Philipstown recognizes the importance of diversity as a component of the American experience, and that we as a nation collectively benefit from 2 core values enshrined in our Constitution, tolerance and inclusion. Whereas the town of Philipstown upholds the value of equal protection under the law for all its residents, regardless of race, religion, gender, ethnicity, sexual orientation, or immigration status. And whereas public health and public safety, education, and economic development in the town of Philipstown require cooperation between community residents and local law enforcement. And whereas it is the express goal of the town board and the residents of Philipstown that the policing practices of law enforcement are consistent with these values so as to avoid the risk of racial and ethnic profiling that is enhanced when local law enforcement actively pursues federal immigration policies. And whereas the town of Philipstown commits to fostering an atmosphere of tolerance and acceptance that truly make America great. Therefore, be it resolved that no town of Philipstown department officer, employee, or agent acting in their official capacity shall request or maintain information about or otherwise investigate or assist in the investigation of the citizenship or immigration status of any person, unless such investigation or inquiry is required by state or federal law or by court order. Furthermore, that they shall not assist in or cooperate with any investigation, detention, or arrest by any agency enforcing federal immigration law, unless such investigation or inquiry is required by state or federal law or by court order, or except as otherwise required under state or federal law or by court order. Disclose information regarding the citizenship or immigration status of any person. Next speaker is Kathleen. I can't read the last name. She is on Old Albany Post Road in Garrison.
Zebzda is the last name.
Oh, sorry.
It's okay.
Thank you.
I just have a
Speak
very,
directly into the microphone.
a very brief statement. I'm read through this before. Two core values of our Constitution: tolerance and inclusion are not in the Constitution. The values of the Constitution are actually liberty and limited government. That's all that's in the Constitution. We all have good hearts. We all take care of our neighbors. We all do what we need to do. Government doesn't need to tell us to do that. And that's the only thing that I wanted to have on the record tonight. Thank you.
Peggy Schatzel. Okay. Cindy Trimble.
Well, first I'd like to say that I think the town board did a good job with this resolution. I don't know if this was in original form, but I'm glad that it doesn't call the town of Philipstown a sanctuary city simply for the risk of losing funding, whether or not it's determined legal, constitutional, it's overturned. We don't need to incur the legal expenses, and we don't need to lose funding. So I'm happy that this resolution doesn't include the word sanctuary. Secondly, the document that was the guidelines that were issued by Attorney General Eric Schneiderman, I think for me the most disturbing part of that document was 20 times in the document the word release was used, which we don't have to worry about here. Releasing meaning release from being locked up, release from incarceration, release from jail. There we are talking about criminal immigrants. But we don't have to worry about that because we don't have a jail. In terms of this document with regard to our police officers, I agree that we all do share these same values, and I don't see any local law enforcement officers acting as federal immigration agents. I've never seen that. But there is one thing about this document I would like to put on the record that I don't like, and that is in the 6th paragraph where it says, "Whereas it is the expressed goal of the town board and the residents of Philipstown that the policing practices of local law enforcement are consistent with these values." I would stop it there, because this is a positive document, and after the word values, this document then casts judgment, makes assumptions, and it becomes a little negative with the racial and ethnic profiling, because that makes an assumption that that's what our police officers do or that's what our federal officials do, and I don't think that we should be in a position to say that. You've outlined all these values above it, the value of diversity, equal protection, there's many of them above it, public safety, and I think this paragraph could just say that you're reiterating that it's the express goal of the town board and its residents to follow policing practices that are consistent with those values. I don't think we need to include racial and ethnic profiling that are enhanced. I think that sort of takes away from the positive tone of the document. Other than that, that's all I have to say about it. Thank you.
Shirley Norton. Okay. Keith Anderson.
Good evening. Every one of you guys took an oath a constitutional oath. Thank you. Every one of you guys took a constitutional oath. It's part of the New York law number 25, Oaths and Undertaking for Town Law. The oath is simple. I do solemnly swear or affirm that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of New York. And I will faithfully discharge the duties of the office of Town Council, Town Supervisor, to the best of my ability. And there's no other oath for you for this position. My issue with this is that this law, in its
This is not a law.
I'm sorry, this ordinance, in its
It's not an ordinance.
what is it then?
It's a resolution.
It's a resolution in its in its own way, violates that oath, okay? Because part of the Constitution is the laws that are created underneath it, okay? And you are supposed to be supporting that. So those laws, okay, that are created by Congress are naturalization laws. You're supposed to be looking out for those laws, okay? And that's a very big problem here. I don't think you guys have even recognized that. I'm pretty sure the example of the state attorney general, I know he hasn't considered that fully in his release from January 19th. I read that. Okay. The other thing is this. I'm proposing that we should have some term limits, okay, and on the town board, all right, and how that's done, I'm going to propose it right here and now, that there should be term limits on this board, okay, especially when the board has the ability to create law or create ordinances or create resolutions, all right. There's been others in the past where it directly affects the citizenry, and in the past, okay, for years and years, the founders of the countries created this system to be a republican system, okay? Representative government, okay, limited government, and it's supposed to be, and one of the things is you really should be, I'm thinking this, that those who have the authority to make legislation should term limit themselves. Well, no, I'm even thinking that it should be a term limit in ordinance to this board or this town, that there should be a term limit of 8 years for any one office, and 12 years on the town board itself.
Keith, getting to the point, I'm not sure how this relates to the item at hand. This is not germane to this resolution.
Well, it is actually, because it deals with the problem of basically abuse of authority. And the abuse of authority is simple. It's been seen in a couple of laws that have been drafted by this board. A couple of ordinances or resolutions even, okay? The mass gatherings law.
Keith, can I remind you that this was brought to us by a citizen of Philipstown, and
Sure.
anybody in Philipstown can present a resolution to the town board for us to consider. So how that is being...
Did it get past you in some way? Was there a vote in some way that had to get past you
No.
to get this language in it?
No.
No?
Okay. We're preparing for that right now
All
as
right.
we open it up to the community and
Still
hear from
doesn't-
everybody.
It goes back to this.
So are you saying that when you present a law or an ordinance or a resolution like term limits, that maybe that might be illegal?
I think we're going off the tracks here, and I'm not going to have that. We have an issue, a resolution that we're talking about, things that are germane to that. If you want to comment on the resolution, that's fine. We're not going off into the weeds here. Term limits have nothing to do with this resolution, so.
Well, abuse of authority does, though. Okay, and I don't.
You have your opinion on that, I hear that.
I'm trying to show you how. You have this Constitution, and part of the Constitution is Congress's ability to create naturalization laws, okay? And you don't want to follow them. Well, you're saying in here, in item 7, which is the only part that's not really even part of the 14th Amendment. You did all this nice stuff on top, which is kind of all 14th Amendment, and then you go into the bottom part of it, or whoever did this, and talks about that no town of Philipstown, department, officer, or employee, or acting agent in their official capacity shall request or maintain information about, otherwise, or investigate, or assist. That's the thing I'm worried about. What happens if we have something like,
You're
whoa,
you're taking that out of context.
now you're interrupting me. What
Apologize.
happens when you have something that happened in Maryland the other day, okay, last week, 2 weeks ago, where they had this horrendous rape, and you have 2 people that are undocumented aliens, 18-year-olds, in a 9th grade classroom, and you're not going to assist with that investigation, or are we?
This is not what the document says.
It does say that. It says
No,
right
it says
here.
not. That would be a law enforcement issue. That would be a federal or state law.
That would be, it says, or assist in the investigation of citizen or immigration status of any person unless such investigation or inquiry is required. It doesn't say that it's required.
Required. Required by state or federal law.
There's
Yes.
no
Or
state or
court
federal
order.
law that says you have to cooperate. Okay?
This, I hear what you're saying.
I think you're playing games here. And you know what this is? This
No, we're not.
reminds
We're
me-
certainly not playing games.
Well,
I'm not
I'll
gonna
tell you
listen
what
to
it does. It reminds me of a version of the show Picket Fences back in the 90s, okay? Where they create these way off crazy things that ultimately drag people before the town board in large number, okay? And cause this diversion, divisiveness, okay? Unnecessarily. This is unnecessary. It is not in your purview. This is definitely a piece of Congress. Congress gets to do this. You guys don't get to do this. I'm sorry. I disagree.
All right, thank you, Keith. Ken Cepeda.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, esteemed members of the board, I just want to take my time to read an excerpt from an article by David Horowitz. And it's regarding all these issues regarding the Constitution and what Keith was just talking about. There are now over 500 sanctuary cities in the United States, virtually all Democratic, which are pledged not to cooperate with the Department of Homeland Security in its efforts to secure our borders, identify terrorists, and deport criminal aliens. California has taken the lead in this pernicious movement and is about to become the first sanctuary state. Moreover, every public California institution of higher learning has declared itself a sanctuary campus, including the University of California, whose president, Janet Napolitano, was a former Obama appointee to the head of the Department of Homeland Security itself. This is the most massive movement of sedition since the Civil War, and is the centerpiece of the so-called resistance, itself a form of sedition in a democracy, that Democrats have mobilized against the Trump administration. With its proposed budget, the Trump administration has taken the first step in dealing with this internal threat to American security by withdrawing federal funding for criminal municipalities and countries which are openly defiant of federal law. Defunding is a good first step, but is not enough to counteract the serious threat that the sanctuary movement poses to our nation's security in the midst of the global war that Islamists have declared on us. What is needed is the prosecution of the criminal officials leading this movement. The Department of Justice needs to investigate and indict the mayors of these municipalities and town board members and congressmen, whoever, and the derelict presidents and chancellors of the sanctuary campuses. The Freedom Center's No Sanctuary Campuses campaign began last month at Berkeley UC, where Milo Yiannopoulos was scheduled to launch the campaign, but was prevented from speaking by left-wing fascists whose riot caused over $100,000 in property damage and resulted in serious injuries to several bystanders, while the Berkeley police looked on and did nothing. Sanctuary campuses are not only part of a radical attack on America's social, political, and educational establishment, but a dagger aimed at the rule of law and the nation's safety. The illegal immigrant first act on American soil is to break the most fundamental of U.S. laws. The administrators who make their schools sanctuaries are making that lawless part of the character and identity of our most important intellectual institutions. The Freedom Center's campaign will move from California to the rest of the U.S., obviously hit this town already, and hopefully will galvanize trustees, alumni, and attorneys generals to resist the assault on our country and take action against these administrators. It will also make the case against sanctuary campuses to the American public whose taxes underwrite the UC and Cal State University systems and other schools across the country. The sanctuary movement began as a concerted effort by left-wing administrators in a major American cities to undermine the Patriot Act and make it more difficult for the Department of Homeland Security to ferret out terrorists and criminal aliens and deport them. This movement has already led to murders and other crimes committed by illegal aliens to whom sanctuary cities give immunity and protection. But since the election of a president, excuse me, do you want to speak? You can get on it.
Ken, please continue addressing the
I'm very.
board. I would
But
ask that the audience hold their
Thank you.
commentary and just let Ken address the board.
But since the election of a president determined to rectify this untenable situation, that left has doubled down and now is working to spread this seditious movement from our cities to our colleges and universities and in California to make the entire state a sanctuary for foreign criminals. The time has come for patriotic Americans to form their own resistance to the growing threats from within, orchestrated by the political left. The president is under incredible, unprecedented attack for his efforts to defend the republic from these threats. He needs help in the form of local movements to remove from office seditious officials running our cities and universities, who have been able to do so with no consequences for them until now. The time has come to make America secure again. Thank you.
No, I'll put you on there. Thank you. All right. Next speaker is Eric Stark. I'll add you on, yes.
Good evening. I'm Eric Stark.
Eric, make sure you're speaking into the mic.
First of all, I want to thank
Drop
the...
that down a little bit if you want to. If it's...
There we go.
Thank you.
I want to thank the town board for bringing this resolution to public hearing. Doing so is both timely and, I think, courageous. I think the first thing I'd like to do is, because there's such a large number of people in the room, is to ask all the people in this room who are in favor of this resolution to stand. That's out of order. I'm sorry.
That's right.
All right, relax.
I'm
Everyone
sorry
can sit
if I was
down.
out of order. I just wanted to have a show. It's hard to tell who's in favor here and who's not.
The audience will refrain from, Eric, if you would address the
Okay.
board, please
I'm
address the
sorry.
board. The audience will refrain from addressing the speaker.
The purpose of this resolution is to make clear and to codify our values as a community. While the resolution addresses the issue of immigration status, it does so in an ancillary way and as a logical and compassionate expression of equal protection. You cannot protect some members of the community and not others. Number one. Two, to discuss the financial implications of this resolution undermines the very essence of it. Our values cannot have a price tag attached to them. If they do, then they're not values, but negotiating points. There are some things in life that are non-negotiable. Equal protection is one of them. My last point is, and hopefully some other lawyer will make extend on this point. In this Supreme Court case, Prince versus United States, it was decided by the court, somewhat ironically by Justice Scalia, who wrote the opinion, that the federal agencies could not commandeer state and local law enforcement to enforce federal law. I think as it's been pointed out by many people here tonight, that this resolution really, for the most part, talks about values that I know all of us share. Every one of us in this room, I believe, regardless of what our viewpoint about immigration status is and the need or desire to have local law enforcement enforce those federal laws. I think it's a slippery slope. And I think that we need to just step back from that, let the federal government enforce their laws. They're more than welcome to come in here and do that. We don't need to support them in doing that. We have other more important things to do as a community. And I think at the bottom line of it all, we need to help affect changes to the immigration laws in this country. We need to get behind that. We need to bring these people who have been our neighbors, our friends, employees, and and real members of our community, bring them into our community and embrace them as with a full status of citizenship. Thank you.
William O'Neill. I'd like to recognize the new mayor of Nelsonville.
Thank you
Bill
very
O'Neill.
much. I would first like to say I look forward to cooperating with the board.
If we could ask you to keep the microphone in the stand.
Why?
It fools with the...
Does it?
Yeah.
Oh, my God. All right. I'm quite small.
Yeah, you can lower it to do wherever you want it to stand. That's fine, but if we could just leave it in the stand.
Let's something more technically oriented.
You can drop that a little bit if you want.
First of all, I would like to express, being the new mayor of Nelsonville, my sincere desire to work with the board, who has done fundamentally a very fine job for this community. Let me first address Mr. Eric Stark for a moment by saying I am a Roman Catholic, and I believe in the second greatest commandment, to love your neighbor as yourself, and that anything that I say is not addressed in any way whatsoever from hate or discrimination. What I am saying, I have the greatest respect for the law. As Thomas More stated, as you ignore the law, when the devil pursues you, there will be nothing to protect you. Now, Mr. Stark, you may have read in the Hudson Current, advised a friend of his, a citizen of Ecuador, apparently an undocumented alien, to return to Ecuador to embrace his family. Once he returned there, he was unable to return to the United States of America. And I say to you, ladies and gentlemen, do not accept the advice of someone like Eric Stark,
Bill,
who harmed an illegal
Mr.
alien.
O'Neill, if you could address the board, you're not...
I am addressing the board. Thank you. Thank you very much. Let me read, as you mentioned, I am the recent mayor, and I recently signed a code of ethics. The code of ethics reads that my responsibility as a public official, I am bound to uphold the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of this state, and to carry out impartially the laws of the nation, state, and municipality, and thus foster respect for all government. I put it to you, this resolution is one more movement to undermine respect for the laws of this country. If you are opposed to immigration laws, change the laws, do not ignore them. Henry David Thoreau opposed the Mexican War, and he went to jail for his opposition. Mr. Supervisor, if you oppose the law, you should do likewise. Let me also mention that as part of my signed law of ethics is that I would not undertake any action that would accrue to my financial benefit as part of being a municipal officer. There are many people here who are contractors who may or may not use undocumented immigrants, and this resolution could be construed in that context to protect them, to provide a source of cheap labor. I think as a matter you may sneer at this, Mr. Supervisor. You may sneer, but I would ask that you gentlemen undertake a resolution to affirm Yes,
Don't point your finger anymore, please.
I will point my finger, Ms. Montgomery, and I will point my finger at something else. That in terms of the responsibility of the people on this committee, I sent a letter, which you received, to Congressman Sean Patrick Maloney, a fine gentleman, about a cell phone tower to be erected over the cemetery. I never received a response from you. So as far as my finger is concerned,
Remain to the issue at hand.
it is not the issue at hand, nor is my finger.
And I went to your town hall to address it, and you provided a letter with no information on it,
Yes.
no contact info,
Yes.
no address, no
My
email.
point
We're not
to
going
you,
off the rails, sir.
Supervisor
We're going to
Shea.
stay with the
Yes,
issue at
let's
hand.
stay on point here.
Yes.
As the new mayor of Nelsonville, I cannot abide by your resolution without violating my code of ethics. And I would say to you, this is a meaningless gesture, which is an insult to this community. And my point to you is that do your fine work you have done for this community and ignore this absurd desire to prove yourself politically correct. Thank you very much.
If you'd like to provide your contact info.
I'm sorry,
If you,
Councilwoman, I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
if you would like
I'm pointing my finger again, excuse me.
if you'd like to write a proper letter with an address and a phone number.
Proper letter?
A letter.
I did not receive a proper letter from you
With-
acting in his capacity as a representative.
Let's stop this
Give
now.
me your phone number, and I'll address that.
My phone number, 265-3794.
Okay. Thank you for your
so much.
comments.
Thank you.
I will say, out of respect to the process, if people could remain on topic and address the issue at hand and not go off into the weeds, bringing up items that have nothing to do with this resolution. So out of respect for everyone here, let's keep to the issue. This, I now recognize the Sullivan Hoke family. I'm from Avery Road in Garrison.
I just wanted to say that.
If you could raise the mic again.
Yeah. Wow.
Sorry about that.
Wow.
I don't think it needs to be lowered and raised. I think if you could just do it with the top, if people come up and they want to adjust it. Terrific.
Thank you. I just want to say thank you for taking on this resolution. I especially want to thank the men and the women on this board for doing so. I support it 100%. I have personal reasons, I have political reasons, philosophical reasons, and I have practical reasons. I'm not going to go into them because it'd be like reading the Iliad and the Odyssey to you, and I don't think we need to sit through that again. So, I would say that I feel that in this particular issue, the practical is as important as the philosophic. The practical is that local law enforcement exists to enforce local laws. They don't enforce a whole set of federal laws. They don't enforce tax law. They don't come after you. Local people don't come after you when you don't pay your taxes on time. Local law enforcement doesn't enforce a whole range of federal law. We should expect our law enforcement to serve us and to protect us in the capacities, in the jurisdictions that they need to abide by. And that is all. It is not their duty to act as agents of the federal law enforcement and the immigration office to tear families apart, to create severity in places where they don't have any place to do it. It is too much to ask them, given the budget, given the number of law enforcement agents that we have here within the municipality, it is too much. It's too great of a burden. It's illogical, irrational, and fundamentally unsound act to demand of them to do so. All this resolution does is recognize the ridiculousness of the ask. And I appreciate you laying this out for us, not as ordinance, not as a sanctuary city, not as a sanctuary campus. None of that. It's just simply a resolution of our values and our expectations that already exist. I see no objection, and I thank you for it.
The next speaker is Barbara Scucciamara. The legislator Scucciamara will make her comments.
Yes, well, actually, I am here for the sheriff. He was unable to attend tonight's meeting. He's in Virginia meeting his new granddaughter.
Oh, terrific.
Yes.
Congratulations.
On April 3rd, when I found out that you were doing this meeting, I sent him a memo, and I said, I respectfully request your professional opinion on the impact this would have on your office and its efforts to protect the people of Philipstown and Putnam County. So as you know, Don Smith, he never says anything little. It's big. So please keep that in mind. Dear Legislator Scucciamara, I have a great respect for every governing body at every level of government, and from the national level, state, county, town, and village levels, and recognize their roles in making decisions for the people they are elected to represent and serve. I am also mindful that the founders of our great republic were deeply concerned about all power being consolidated at the national level. It is in that vein, although not a resident of the town of Philipstown, I respect that it is the town's residents' right to have their local elected representatives determine positions and policies on matters that affect the people of the town of Philipstown and the villages of Cold Spring and Nelsonville. Now, however, you have asked me for my professional opinion on a subject under consideration by the Philipstown Town Board. I believe that it is a very fair inquiry, and I will now do my best to provide my opinion below. As Sheriff of Putnam County, I have taken a solemn oath to support and defend the Constitution of the United States of America and the Constitution of the State of New York, and to objectively and fairly enforce the laws in accordance with the duties of my office. Page 2. My position, both as sheriff and personally, on the subject of sanctuary cities and counties is very well known. I have written op-ed pieces and spoken out on television, radio about this important subject. I have also provided leadership on the subject and served on committees at the National Sheriff's Association and the New York State Sheriff's Association that have studied this matter a great deal. I am deeply concerned that the world is a dangerous place where there are many people, including terrorists, who hate America and our way of life. Unfortunately, the national discussion on the topic of immigration has clouded the lines between issues of immigration and issues of border security, national security, and effective law enforcement. I believe the issues were accurately described in a quote by Mr. Howard Buffett when he appeared as a guest speaker at the National Sheriff's Association in June. Mr. Buffett said, "International criminal organizations have claimed space in every county across the country. They are not in Afghanistan. They are in Atlanta. They are not in Syria. They are in Chicago. They are not in Yemen. They are in Los Angeles. And they are here now." Mr. Buffett's message is not liberal or conservative, Democratic or Republican. Mr. Buffett is not anti-immigration. He supports charitable causes in more than 80 developing countries, including efforts to fight human trafficking and forced migrant labor, assistance program for refugees, and building democracies. His message is about a real problem that threatens to destroy America from within. From a law enforcement perspective, it is absolutely essential in the dangerous world we live in, where international terrorists and foreign drug cartels are attacking our way of life and promoting the scourge of drugs in every county in our nation. That law enforcement must work together as a team at every level to defend our people against these very real threats. No community is immune to these threats, including our beloved Putnam County. To me, it makes absolutely no sense for law enforcement agencies to hide information and refuse to work together as a team. To do so not only compromise law enforcement's capacity to protect our citizens, but also diminishes our ability to protect the courageous men and women of law enforcement and our emergency responders. Recently, I visited the southwestern area of the country and witnessed firsthand our porous, unsecured borders, where it is estimated 70 to 80% of the drugs that are killing our young people are entering the United States, sent by drug cartels that are controlling many parts of Mexico. I want to make one additional point, and that is that the major concern of the sheriffs and the law enforcement leaders as a whole is the way in which criminal illegal aliens have been allowed to prey on our citizens and make us less safe. Being in America, in the United States of America, illegally is a civil violation of immigration law. The major concern of our nation's sheriffs is the fact that illegal aliens who have committed crimes, including multiple misdemeanors and violent felonies, are often allowed to stay here and offend again, making us less safe. During a recent 2-year period, some 50,000 criminal illegal, my mouth is getting very dry, were released back into the population of America instead of being deported. In Putnam County, it is also important to note that illegal aliens who report a crime committed against them or who are witness to a crime are not reported to ICE. The Putnam County Sheriff's Office reports to ICE only those people who were involved in criminal activity. In closing, I want to point out that many years, Putnam County Sheriff's Office has worked very hard and has strived to protect the rights of every individual, while at the same time keeping Putnam County a great and safe place to live, work, and raise a family. Sincerely, Donald B. Smith, Sheriff.
We thank the sheriff for his comments. I don't think anyone would argue with much of that. I also just want to make it entirely clear that this resolution is in no way meant to impugn the reputation of our local law enforcement. We support local law enforcement wholly and fully. And we understand that currently we understand the difficulty of their job every single day, and also the fact that they are extremely considerate. We have seen actions in the past week that were, touching, to say the least, of sheriffs helping people out, and helping people out who are probably not natives of the United States.
I'd like to thank them for being here this evening.
Yes, and thanks to the sheriff. So, again, just to reinforce that point, there's nothing in this document. I will point out that Cindy Trimble's comments I take that to heart, and I think that's an excellent suggestion. So the next speaker is William, is this Stark or Stask? Stark, William Stark.
My name is William Stark. I'm 15 years old, and I support the Equal Protection Resolution, and I believe in the equal protection under the law for all residents, regardless of race, religion, gender, ethnicity, sexual orientation, or immigration status. And that's all I wanted to say.
Thank you. It's great to have young people come out and participate in government. We need more of that. I have Jessica Anschultz. I hope I'm not destroying your name. I'm sorry if I did.
You're very close. It's Jessica Anschutz. I serve as the pastor of the Cold Spring and South Highland United Methodist Churches. And I'm here tonight because 3 years ago I was a stranger in this community, and I have been welcomed. I have been the beneficiary of the wonderful hospitality of this community, and my hope would be that anyone who is here would be able to experience that. And I'm here tonight especially because of a young woman I met several years ago who, as a teenager, learned that she was undocumented when she went to her parents to talk to her parents about applying to college. She'd come to the United States as an infant. She had no memory of living anywhere else other than in New York State. And she learned that she was undocumented. And in that moment, her life dramatically changed. She no longer felt safe in her community. She no longer felt safe in her school. She no longer felt safe being outside, walking down the street, going to get the mail, living her everyday life. And I want to commend the town for considering this resolution for women like her, who may find themselves living today in fear because of decisions that were made that were not their own, that led to them being undocumented here in our communities. And it is my hope that we would extend the welcome and hospitality that I have experienced here to them.
Thank you. Brian Grafer. Brian Grafer. Going once, going twice. Rosalie E., and I cannot read the last name, Route 9, Cold Spring. Oh, Mewhinny. Okay. I'm sorry about that, Rose. How do you pronounce that? Mewhinny.
Me, Winnie. You, Lucy. That's what I always tell people, and I never use the name. I've lived here for 28 years. I came here because my husband lived here, and I fell in love with this area and never wanted to leave. And in 2001, my husband had a stroke, as some of you know. And he was sick for 9 years, and I had 3 caregivers in those 9 years who worked 5 days a week, 12 hours a day. 2 people were local. One was 3 years, the next one was 3 years. The third person turned out to be an illegal immigrant, undocumented, whatever you want to call her. She was with me for 3 years. I would do anything for this woman, anything, because she is the most fantastic person I've ever met in my life. She's from Jamaica. Her son was born here. She came here. She overstayed her visa. She wanted to make a life, okay? Now, it's now 2017. She got married. She got a green card. She has a full-time job. She has a bank loan for a car. She is paying taxes. She's a member of society. She doesn't do drugs. She is not anywhere near a criminal, as people are describing these people who come here because they want a better life. And I just hope to God that some people in our community can welcome people like this, because we need more of these people. They contribute to our society. They don't take. And I thank God for all of you.
Thank you. Susan Freeman. Susan Freeman? Okay, thank you. Lara Eldon?
Hi. I'm a member of this community, and I would like to voice my support for this resolution because we have, as others have said, a community here that is strong enough to welcome newcomers, like I was 3 years ago or 2.5 years ago, while remembering its history, its traditions, and its place in the United States. I'd like to just briefly point out that statistically, immigrant communities, including those who are undocumented, have extremely low crime rates amongst them and are far more likely to be the victims of crime than the perpetrators. Immigrants contribute to our local economy in so many ways. On a personal level, I have empathy for people who have had to leave behind their homes due to circumstances beyond their control. My grandparents and my parents were refugees due to war multiple times in their life. When I was a child, when I was a child, my family was displaced due to war. And then again, to political persecution. These are realities that I have had direct experience with. But my family was fortunate enough to have some factors in our favor: mobility, wide networks of friends around the world, and documents. How can I judge others facing similar challenges, but in a different set of circumstances that are less favorable than my family's were? When I know that so many parents, my parents, so many parents that are here tonight, would do whatever they could to protect their children if they had to and give them a better life. Thank you.
Evelyn Waters.
Thank you. Thank you, board. Thank you, friends and neighbors. I was going to just make a few comments. How many times have we heard from this board that national politics has no place in Philipstown?
Not that often.
Well, maybe it was just with Craig.
Not that often.
But national politics is incredibly divisive, and I really don't want that for my town. So.
Thank you, Evelyn. Kathleen Foley.
Hi. Well, we are a microcosm here in Philipstown of everything that's happening across the nation. People have spoken tonight a lot about your oaths, and those of us who've been elected or appointed to public office do take the oath to protect the Constitution, and I know that you take it very seriously. And one of the most sacred elements of that Constitution, we seem to be selective in our discussion tonight, is equal protection. And it's so important to remember that we're as strong as our weakest link. And when protections are lost for one, they're lost for all of us. So I would encourage you to pass this resolution. I stand firmly in support of it as a resident of Philipstown. And I am also a Roman Catholic, and I will say that whatever you do to the least of my people, that you do unto me, that stays with me from my education.
I see Alex Tripp knows his place in the order here. Alex Tripp, thank you. And thank you, Kathleen, for your comments.
Thank you. I just wanted to address a couple of issues. There have been some accusations.
You may have to raise the microphone.
We're
going to break the rule here.
Just wanted to address some of the accusations about sedition and oath of office and the proper purview of this board. The Constitution is set up with dual sovereignty. There's federal, there's state and local. And it is entirely proper for this board to be independent of the federal government. The federal government, as Eric Stark mentioned, cannot commandeer this board and make it its instrument, make it its tool. This is a separate sovereign. So it is entirely proper for this board to make its own decisions about whether or not it wishes to do the federal government's work for it. And likewise, the Congress can't simply cut off all funding in a fit of pique if it's annoyed. As Chief Justice Roberts described it, the federal government can't put a financial gun to the head of local government and require it to follow its directives. There are strict constitutional limitations on conditional funding. So what the board is doing is entirely proper, and I support this resolution. Thank you.
Thank you. Eliza Nagel.
Hi, good evening. So being an attorney, I debate the Constitution all day endlessly, and so I'm not going to do that right now because I think that I can debate with all of you what it means and doesn't mean and what laws follow it and what doesn't follow it. Instead, I wanted to say that today, April 6th, 77 years ago, in 1940, my grandparents were married, and my grandfather had made it to his bride. He took the last boat over from Germany. When he arrived here, they put him immediately in prison because that's what they did with Germans at that time. He got out eventually. He was married to my grandmother, and what followed was a rich life of family and farming. My grandfather, who could never lose his thick German accent, loved this country, and he was the most patriotic person I've ever met. We are all immigrants. And some of us start out illegal, and that's just the fact of this country. Please support Philipstown Equal Protection Resolution. Thank you.
Rodney Dow. How are you, Rodney?
I'm good. I'm very good, Richard. Thank you very much, and thank you, Board, for having me here, allowed to speak tonight. I would like to say I look at the crowd here tonight, and we have partisan right and partisan left, and hopefully we have some people in the middle. And as an independent voter for many years, and I voted for many of you people on the board, and I voted for both Republicans and Democrats alike. And as an American citizen, as a veteran, as a taxpayer, and a person that believes about honor of law and order in our country, I find this resolution not to be in our town. And I'll tell you that I believe that we have laws to follow. We are a country of rule of law. And I feel that if we open the doors, and I hear people talk about their immigrants. I'm an immigrant also. In fact, I have to go back to the first English settlers in this country. However, I'd like to know that if you would be willing to take an oath of office, that if we have a heinous crime committed by an illegal alien in the town of Philipstown, that you would be willing to step down and supervise it, because this is your resolution that you are supporting. And I am concerned that we open the doors and we have immigrants all over, both legal and illegal. And I believe in rule of law, where people that want to be citizens of this country do it legally, not illegally. And I don't support that. And I am a taxpayer. Thank you for listening to me. Would you do that? Would you be willing to step down if we had a heinous crime?
Number one, I would say nowhere in this equal protection resolution does it say we will defy the law. There's nowhere in here it says that. I'm leading to an answer, and if you would hold your comments, unless you'd like to get up and speak and get on the list, I would respect that. I would say that our resolution is a resolution of a value statement. And no, I would definitely not be willing to step down for supporting this resolution. I support this resolution wholeheartedly.
What I'm saying is if it's a heinous crime committed, would you be able to step down? Because this has opened the doors.
I think what you're doing is conflating two separate issues. I don't see, and I can't imagine, a cause and effect between a statement of values and a heinous crime being committed. These two items are separate. I can't follow the logic in that.
The logic is that you are opening the doors for supporting illegal aliens in our town to come here. It's an open door because now people down the line here, oh, you can go to Philipstown and it's a safe place. It's a safe haven.
So you're suggesting we should close our doors to people?
I never said that.
What are you saying?
I closed it. It's about talking about illegal aliens, giving them a safe haven where you're not judgmental of these individuals. I'm asking, I'm talking about illegals coming here in our town that it may never happen, but I'm telling you, I'm asking you about creating a heinous crime, illegal alien creating a heinous crime because you're giving them a safe haven here in our town. I don't agree with that.
I disagree with the premise of, excuse me, I disagree with the premise of your argument. No, I would not step down. I don't anticipate this resolution leading to anything like that. This doesn't, the two are not connected. I just can't understand. I can't make that leap with you.
Well, fair enough. If it happens, I'll remind you.
Well,
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'd just like to point out that our supervisor and our town board and our sheriffs are not trained to enforce federal law. No, they're not.
Well, let's save that. Keith, you had your piece. You can.
Federal agents?
Nancy, if you could refrain from interacting with the audience, that would be helpful. Eric Brown. Good evening, Eric.
Good evening. I stand in favor of the resolution because I understand what it's like to live in a world where it feels like your very presence is considered as a threat to the larger society. In a time not so long ago, my parents and my grandparents raised a family in a climate where being asked to show an ID and give valid papers for simply walking the street or going to work was looked at as commonplace. We were not seen as individuals. We were seen, because of our aesthetic, as a member of a group, and that group automatically came with carrying certain consequences and behaviors. It wasn't true for them, and it's not true for me. We've learned many things since that time, which is one of the things that makes this country great. That lesson, my parents' sacrifice and my family's sacrifice, is one of the reasons that I can stand here today without fear. This resolution, as I've read it, asks for nothing more than to make it plain that Philipstown, where I've chosen to help my wife raise our family, is a place that says the rule of law can be enforced without judging people, without due process, simply because they look different. Thank you.
Well said. Paul Henderson.
I thank the board for this opportunity to speak and regret that I didn't come prepared to speak, but I'll do my best. First of all, I'm impressed with the range of ideas that's expressed here, and it's part of our nation that we can actually do that we can stand here and hear what each other has to say disagree with it, walk away with it, I have to say that I will hope that you will support this resolution. I do want to say that there was a large group of people, many large groups of people who were brought to this country as legal immigrants. And when I walked with my father when I was a young child with Martin Luther King, that was the beginning of the time that they became, or started to become, actually full legal citizens. It is a time when sometimes we have to stand up and do something that's just right. It may not be quite legal. It may be actually, underhanded, but if you don't stand up and make a resolution, where are we as people? Thank you.
Jason Angel. Hello, Jason.
Hi, good evening, board. How are you?
Good.
All right, so obviously, as a couple people have said, there's agreement. Sounds like a lot of the agreement got here a little late, signed the petition, the sign-up sheet late, but there's agreement and disagreement, right? And I think that this discussion here tonight is, we can talk about the Constitution and we can talk about one of the core bedrocks of the Constitution, which is self-government and the right of a community to govern itself and the right of a community to make decisions about their values and what they stand for. And, even if we agree and disagree, the fact that we're all here at 10 o'clock at night, whatever side we're on, we probably all love Philipstown and love this country, right? That is clear. That is clear. All of us do. Sure. Right. But so just to reiterate a few things, just as you all are about to vote on this resolution and determine where you all stand as representatives of this community, a few facts, just to reiterate, that there's nothing in this resolution that says you all are saying that local law enforcement, which we all support, would ever break federal law or break state law or go against a court order. So that is clear, okay? That is clear, right? Other people have mentioned, let's just, as facts, we shouldn't walk away from this auditorium and make a statement that undocumented immigrants are committing crimes all over the place. Laura brought this up, but if you look at data, and I'd be happy to send it to all of you or anybody in the room, jasonKangel@gmail.com, I'd be happy to send you the reports. It's federal, state, crime data. And it clearly shows that undocumented immigrants commit crimes at lower rates than U.S. citizens. That's probably because they're scared about getting kicked out of the country, all right? But those are facts. Those are facts. So let's not walk out of the room without those facts on the table before you, stated into the record. And another fact, let's not conflate terrorism with this question we're dealing with tonight. And I understand that we're a community, right? That is clear. I don't think this resolution is about stopping ISIS, local law enforcement. I don't think that's what this is about, so let's be clear, it's not about that either, right? And I think some of us, the idea that a local community, national politics coming down into a local community, it is a divisive time. And it's a divisive time largely because executive orders to deport 11 million undocumented immigrants drive this issue into every community. And we can't avoid it. And it's divisive. And people come out on different places in it. And so I want to just step back for a second and ask us, while we're all kind of paying attention to this question, right? Undocumented immigrants, what do we do about it? Where do we all stand on it? Let's ask the question, why are there 11 million undocumented immigrants in this country? All right, let's step back from that for a second. And I just wanted to use, I'm sorry if this will be a boring 2 or 3 minutes, but I think it sets a good context because we always have this discussion about legal versus illegal. And I think if we look at this question of why we have so many undocumented immigrants, we walk away in a gray area that was created by Congress and federal immigration law. Okay, and what we're all talking about here, mostly when we get an executive order to deport 11 million immigrants, we all know we're talking about deporting Mexicans, immigrants from Ecuador, Central America. That is what this discussion is about. All right, and why do we have so many undocumented immigrants in this country? In 1942, the U.S. government started the Braceros program, known as the Braceros program, to bring in Mexican farm workers to grow food for us. Okay, I'm a farmer, and maybe I chose the wrong area. There's a hell of a lot of rocks here, all right? But that is the beginning of the Braceros program. It lasted for 22 years until it was killed in 1964 by Lyndon Johnson. It was the largest U.S. foreign worker program in its history, brought in about 5 million people. Okay, when Lyndon Johnson killed that program, what he did, and here is the rub about where we're all dealing with this issue that pits us against each other. When Lyndon Johnson killed the program, he made it illegal to cross the border, illegal to harbor an undocumented immigrant, but perfectly legal to employ an undocumented immigrant. Perfectly legal to employ an undocumented immigrant. All right, and we know why the Braceros program was started, because we wanted access to cheaper farm labor, and we wanted to stop farmers from unionizing, and we wanted to drive down the prices that American farmers were getting. This is the history, right? And so when we did that, I just want to put it in front of people that Lyndon Johnson, in America, we were allowed to employ undocumented immigrants until about 1987, and then since then, there's been no I guess my point is, when we have this discussion about illegal versus illegal, okay, we created this system. We sent out a message to human beings all over the world that if you get across the border, that's unpoliced pretty much, and you can get to a place and an employer, you're good. We're going to look the other way, all right? And we're going to look the other way because it lines our profits, big business. Okay, and the point I'm going to make here is all of a sudden, this issue is coming down home to us. And why do these undocumented immigrants that were good enough to employ, good enough to pay taxes, good enough to buy homes, why are they suddenly expendable? Why are we talking about deporting all of them? All right, and I would say the reason we're talking about deporting of them is we no longer have to create laws that bring cheap foreign labor across the border to employ, to kind of support big business. All right, we've shown that American workers are expendable. All right, we're going to bring in foreign workers for a cheaper wage. And now we're just showing that those undocumented immigrants are expendable. Because you know what? We're going to build factories overseas, and we'll bring the work to them where it's really cheap. Okay? And that's what's going on here, and I don't think they should pit Americans, all right, against this idea of undocumented. And so coming off that little high horse of history lesson, it brings us back here, all right? But this issue has become local. And I don't think, we all know that local law enforcement is supposed to enforce local law. It's not up to local law enforcement, and we all know local law enforcement here does a fantastic job and has a lot of work to do. Are we going to ask them to start enforcing federal law? All right, and that's your all decision here. But I would say, just from my own personal point of view, now that we've found all these undocumented immigrants that are suddenly expendable when they were our employees, they were paying taxes. All right, is it up to Philipstown's local law enforcement to be part of doing the dirty work now, of deciding, okay, we don't care about these people anymore? All right, and so again, I am very proud to live in a community that comes out and disagrees. I hope that we all point our finger at the real problem here, right, which is the fact that in the quest for cheap labor, everybody's expendable. All right, and that's what we're finding out, and we don't have to do the dirty work for them here, and we point our fingers at the right people. We don't clean up what they started, and we support the people here that were good enough to be people that we worked with. All right, and thank you very much for supporting this. It's brave. I support it. I believe we will support you, and thanks everybody for coming out. Thank you.
With that, we're going to move on to the board to get their point of view on this issue, on the issue at hand. So I would offer up, I don't know if anybody wants to take a 2-minute break and stand up. We've been sitting for quite a while. Is there any consensus? Anyone need a drink of water? Or should we just keep going? All right, we'll just keep going. All right, then I will call on Councilman Flaherty to take the floor.
Okay. First of all, I'd like to thank everyone for coming tonight and value everyone's opinion here today, so thank you again. We heard a lot about respect and values here this evening from everybody. We're a tight-knit community, about 11,000 people or so, fairly small. To be quite honest, I wake up every morning, look myself in the mirror, and I know who I am. I think everyone out there in the audience knows who you are when you wake up every morning. I don't think, personally, that this resolution is going to change my mind the way I think or the way I value you and everyone else in my community. So I personally cannot support this resolution the way it is written.
Councilman Leonard.
Okay, thank you very much, everybody, coming out. Obviously, a lot of people have expressed their views, and that's what this is all about. I just want to remind everybody that of what we have to do here, and we do this on a number of occasions. We have to obviously do the best we can to represent everyone in the town. And obviously, I think we do a pretty good job of that. And I've spent a lot of time not only reading this word for word, but also talking to people. I talk to people at all different parties, different views, and that's a healthy thing, and I hope that continues in our country. We, in the last paragraph, because some comments were made, I used to handle a lot of regulatory issues, and so obviously laws and so forth were very key to hone in on. And clearly in the last paragraph, the state or federal law or by court order is written 3 times to be very clear that it's the clear intention here that we are not circumventing any laws. And that's the clear intention with this. And I realize there's a lot of passion on both sides, and this is a national issue, and it should be. But we took a look at this. I took a look at this document, and I weighed this document. I looked at it, and for me, I treat everyone the same. I make no difference with anyone. So going through this, this is what I do, and so forth. And I do pretty much stay with a lot of local issues. You see me dealing with different points, but I felt after reading this as well that and that was brought up a few times by some people, and I won't get back into the history of it, but it's very obvious that our federal government has really failed us in dealing with this issue over the years. This issue, which was brought up in the 80s, could have been dealt with a lot easier by both parties at the time. And I think by kicking the can down the road, it's forced it to other situations where more and more people, and we have to remember now, we're 30 years down the road. We're dealing with a lot of children and grandchildren, and we say, go back to what? People grew up here, and there were stories that were raised by people, and this is individual people and their stories, and we just can't simply dismiss that. And I think we have to have that conversation nationally, but it all starts with our communities, and I think that's what we need to go forward with in sending messages that we want to have that discussion and raise that to our officials higher up. And I think this is a good step to doing that. Thank you very much for your time.
Councilwoman Montgomery.
I am really happy to see everybody out. I disagree with Keith. We're not dragging people out. This is the greatest joy in serving, is that I get to have nights like this where people do come out and discuss important issues. And I think this is a really important one, and I appreciate the citizens that brought it to our attention, and I appreciate the supervisor's initiative to put it on the agenda. I think it is necessary. I know we are a community that loves our neighbors, but I think we're at a time in this country where we need to put pen to paper and put it, down as a town document that we will protect everybody that enters into our town. We are not federal enforcement agents. We're not trained for that. We don't have funding for that. I don't know where the funding that's going to be taken away from us if we don't enforce federal laws is, quite honestly, in our budget. I haven't seen that federal funding. But, you know, I also have to point out that many of my friends and neighbors and your close friends and people who disagree with this document, you know, have called me personally to find out what they can do to protect their employee, their illegal immigrant. I don't like to call it their undocumented employee. They have this great person that's worked for them for 10 years, and they're running the risk of being deported. Oh my God, Councilwoman Montgomery, can you help? So I think that it's my responsibility to find out how to protect our friends and neighbors. You know, the first thing that came to mind when I saw this document was a day when my son came home from his 8th grade Frost Valley trip. And he's a guy, he doesn't communicate much, but you know your kids and you see when they're upset, and it's really hard to get out of them what you want to find out what's really bothering them. And this child said to me that he was appalled at the behavior of his classmates because he had gone to an organization outside of the community where there were kids of different color, and the kids in his class were behaving badly. They were making fun of the other kids. They were exhibiting signs of racism, and my child was appalled by it. So, you know, with that, this comes to mind. In my community, even though I know we're a great community that loves our neighbors and we take care of each other, I'm a great example of that. We need to protect our friends and neighbors. And right now, sitting here tonight, I'm a little scared, quite honestly. Our new mayor of Nelsonville, who has the ability to create his own police department to mandate that they enforce federal law when they're not trained to, is a little angry, pointing his fingers and not acknowledging the women on the board. So I don't know. It's kind of true, isn't it? You saw it. Well, not out of order. It happened tonight, and this mayor does have the ability.
The audience would please refrain from speaking out at this point.
So the issue
Let the
is,
councilwoman make her point.
is
She
that
has the
your
floor.
elected officials, your mayors, your supervisors do have the ability to create their own law enforcement departments. That's what I'm saying. And you've witnessed tonight what that can entail. Again, I think this is a great resolution. We can't be mandated to enforce federal law. Leave that up to ICE. Leave that up to the professionals. We have federal agents who live in our town. Let them be dispatched to enforce this law. Don't make us enforce it.
How you doing, buddy? Councilman Van Tassel.
Well, I'd like to try to put a lighter spin on a very tense room tonight. Richard, when you asked me to be on the town board 8 years ago, I never imagined I'd be sitting in front of a room of 200 people discussing immigration. So this, to me, is way outside of anything that we should be involved in. That's why, as you know, I'm not supporting the resolution. For those of you that know me, and I think I know a good majority of you in the room, there's not a bit of racism in me. I don't discriminate against anybody. I treat everybody with respect. I worked as a paramedic in the city of Paterson, New Jersey. I've been in the construction industry for 30 plus years, so I've been exposed to every walk of life that you could imagine. And I treated everyone that I meet with respect. And I think, as you opened up the meeting with, this community treats everybody with respect. And in a town of less than 10,000 people, is what we are, that does not have control or set protocol or policy for any policing agency, neither the sheriff's department nor the state police that govern us or control our investigations, I think we're getting involved in something that we really should not be getting involved with. I also called the town clerk today to find out if we retain or request any information regarding immigration status or whether somebody is a legal resident, and we do not. We do not store any of those records, and we don't ask for records. So that's my feeling, that we're getting ourselves involved in something that we don't belong in, and that we do run the risk of losing federal funding. So that's my fear. And federal funding was here and was very evident post-Hurricane Irene. FEMA rebuilt this town, and without them, we'd still be fixing roads. So that's my feeling. I also know that Homeland Security offers grants to local police and to the local emergency services. So I don't want to run the risk of losing that and to me, it's a symbolic gesture, and I understand the symbolism, and I appreciate everybody's opinion and the strong feelings, and I think this should be debated in a bigger area. It was evident to me, we didn't even have a room big enough to host this, so it shouldn't be in the town of Philipstown. It should be in our federal government.
The town clerk would also like to make a statement.
I never do this. Okay. I've been in the town clerk's office for 24 years, and as John said, we don't maintain records. To my knowledge, no department maintains records. We don't ask for immigration status. Whether you're coming in for a marriage license, a hunting license, it doesn't matter. We give out pistol permit applications. We don't process them. We don't ask any questions. We give it to them. That's the bottom line. And every department there at the town hall, to my knowledge, and I've been there a long time, this is not part of what we do. My issue with this, and it's a different spin on it, the value portion of this resolution is fine. But when it says the town of Philipstown departments, officers, employees, and agents acting in their official capacity, that bothers me, because what if there's someone, as an employee, who has very strong values, and somebody comes in and says, he's an ICE agent? I'll say it would be me. If somebody came in, not that I could give them any information because I don't have any, but what happens to the employee? What are the ramifications for that? We all have our rights. And that's just my question.
Thank you. Thank you for that, town clerk. Before I move on this, there are two things. You know, as a board, we discuss issues all the time. Sometimes they're very heated discussions. We disagree a lot, which is appropriate. But we come together and we go back to work. You know, no one's going to leave this meeting tonight saying, well, I'm not talking to John or, Mike or, it's just, that's not the way we operate. And that's not the way we operate as a community. So, I'm hoping that we lead by example. You'll see us after the vote on this go right back to work. We have we have a full agenda to pursue tonight. So it's, it's important to recognize the diversity in the community. It's important to recognize opinions. Certain things I heard tonight would definitely give me pause, but everyone's entitled to their opinion. As a board, we'll be moving on. We have lots of work to do. We're going to rebuild Town Hall. We're going to put in an elevator. We're going to redo the Dahlia House, the Town Hall Annex. We have a whole host of issues we're constantly facing with emergency services, town budget, all the work that goes into the town to keeping the town running and healthy, things that people don't see on a regular basis, but if they weren't done, they would notice pretty quickly. So the other thing I'd like to recognize is the suggestion by Cindy Trimble. I agree wholeheartedly with that. It's a very positive resolution, and
Can I say one thing about that? Just one more, about our police. Just one.
no, I would say no. Everyone's had their chance to speak, and if we start going back into it, we're never going to get this, but thank you. So I would like to put the resolution to a vote, but I would like to, as Cindy Trimble suggested, stop paragraph 6 after the values, period. I don't have an issue with that. I think that to move on this tonight is, I don't want this to be something that goes on and on and on. I want to move on it and make the statement, and move on. We have work to do. This is important work, but we do need to make this statement.
Just for the rest of the paragraph.
Just for that.
The rest of the paragraph only. Correct?
Yes, yes. So we would read, whereas the express goal of the town board and the residents of Philipstown that the policing practices of local law enforcement are consistent with these values, period. I think it keeps it more positive, and I agree with that. With that, I would entertain a motion on the resolution, the Philipstown Equal Protection Resolution. Could I get a second?
Second.
We're going to do a roll call vote on this. Councilman Flaherty.
Nay.
Councilman Leonard.
Aye.
Councilwoman Montgomery.
Aye.
Councilman Van Tassel. I vote no. And I vote aye. Resolution carries 3-2. Before everyone leaves, I really want to say I appreciate you all coming out. I appreciate the discussion. I do respect everyone's opinion here, and I hope that we can all, continue to support these values. So thank you. Tina, if you want to continue with the agenda.
Employees are on overtime, so.
Yeah, we're crossing the line.
I don't get overtime.
All right.
Can't be left alone. There's got to be at least one member of the public here.
Good.
Okay, the item, resolution authorizing a donation in the amount of $300 to the Nelsonville Fish and Fur for this year's Kids Fishing Day, scheduled for May 7th.
All right, this is something we do every year. We're happy to do it. It promotes a lot of great activity out there. So could I get a motion on the resolution authorizing a donation of $300 for Fish and Fur Day?
So moved.
Second. All in favor? Aye. I vote aye.
Next item is a resolution authorizing Supervisor Shea to sign the contract between the County of Putnam and the town for the real property tax services. This is the preparation of tax rolls and everything. And
Obviously, this is something we have to do, something we do every year. Could I get a motion on the resolution?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. I vote aye.
Next item, a resolution accepting the resignation of Ann Nichter as a member of the Board of Assessment Review, effective April 6, 2017.
It really is with deep regret that we accept this resignation, and it's just been such a fine member of the BAR, an assessor, put in years and years of service to this community, and just a real community booster, sort of the, the gal about town too. I mean, it's always interesting to see Ann. She's so vivacious and full of life. So, Ann, thank you so much for your years of service, and
Great job overall.
Thank you.
yes, yes,
Worked
and Mike.
well with her on the bar. I mean, she's really a wealth of information, and she really helped me out a lot. So.
She's been on there.
Been working with the
Yeah.
town for decades.
Even after she couldn't drive, I mean, she got rides to stay on. I mean, she really pushed hard to it.
Yeah.
I just have to say, Ann has been a great mentor to me, and I appreciate her insight, her advice, and thank her greatly.
Powerful woman too.
Yeah.
Don't mess with Ann. you better come loaded. So, with regret, we do accept the. Could I get a motion on accepting the resignation of Ann Nichter?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I vote aye. Thank you.
Next is a resolution authorizing Supervisor Shea to sign the memorandum of understanding between the town and the Philipstown Depot Theater.
Claudio has disappeared conveniently at this time. This is something we've been going back and forth with literally for about a year now. We've had this reviewed by the attorney. They haven't raised the rent. We do need the theater. They've authorized work on the building by us. I know they are in the realization that there are plans for the outdoor space. We've been working with Metro North on that. My thanks to the board. They really have picked it up, and I mean, it's a great program for the community, so we need that theater. So if I could get a motion authorizing me to sign that lease.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And I vote aye.
Resolution authorizing Supervisor Shea to sign the commercial lease agreement between the Town of Philipstown and the Garrison Landing Association beginning January 1st, 2018 and ending December 31st, 2022.
Again, this is the formal lease agreement. Something we have to do if we're going to continue to operate out of the theater. So with that, I would entertain the resolution authorizing me to sign the commercial lease.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I vote aye.
The bargain.
Yes, it is.
Next is a resolution authorizing Carl Frisenda, Highway Superintendent, to purchase a 2017 Jeep Cherokee from Robert Green Auto and Truck Incorporated as lowest bidder under the state vehicle marketplace in the amount not to exceed $26,426.62.
And to keep it on its wheels.
Oops, at least you said it. Easy there. We're getting this from state bid. We do need the car. The highway super's car was totaled. Fortunately, he was not injured. When he was out doing road inspection, hit some ice and it went up on its side. So it was totaled. We did get a good insurance payment on that to go toward this new vehicle. And so we're in good shape on authorizing this. Could I get a motion on the resolution?
Didn't we also sell some equipment that was going to go towards this as well?
Yeah, we're constantly selling equipment and realizing some profit, or some revenue from that. I wouldn't say profit.
We're going to use that towards this payment as well.
It all goes into the budget, yes. Could I get a motion on the resolution?
So moved.
Second? All in favor? Aye. I vote aye.
The next is a resolution authorizing Supervisor Shea to sign the 2017 shared equipment agreement between the Town of Philipstown and the villages of Buchanan, Croton, and the City of Peekskill. We've done this before.
Right, so this is something we are happy to do. This shows shared services, effort toward consolidation of sorts. We benefit from it, they benefit from it. They have equipment we don't have. We are happy to help out our neighboring towns. We work on the Cortland Dam with Cortland. We get water from them. So this is just a furtherance of that effort to make sure that we still have our intermunicipal agreement to share services and equipment. Got a motion on the resolution?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And I vote aye.
This is a yearly thing?
No, it's not yearly. We need to up it periodically.
Make it for a longer period of time as,
I think these are newer. I don't think we've ever been in with these communities.
We haven't been in with Cortland. We've been in with Carmel. We've been in with Gold Spring. We've been in with, I think we did have something with Cortland at one time, though.
Yeah, we have.
Yeah. I was going to say, because I can recall loaning them a piece of equipment, getting something from them. Also, we work very closely with them with the Continental Village Water District.
Okay, the next item is a resolution awarding the bid for the renovations to the town annex to Monteleone Construction, and this should be a roll call vote.
So, we're happy to have this work go out to a local contractor. It worked out that way. I'm going to quickly read through the resolution, and I think I should. Whereas the Town of Philipstown is the owner of certain real improved by a building known as the Dahlia House, and whereas the town has undertaken a project to make certain improvements to the Dahlia House, and whereas hereto the town put out for public bid the contract for the said improvements to the Dahlia House, and whereas the town has opened and reviewed all bids submitted on said project and received the building department's report regarding the same, now therefore be it resolved that the town has received 3 bids on the project: Monteleone Contracting, Advanced Construction Systems, Oakside Construction Company. The bids submitted by Advanced Construction Systems failed to include the amounts for required bid items, including blacktop, rail at front, specialties, and the failure to include amounts for these items renders advanced bids defective. That the remaining 2 bids, the lowest responsible bidder was Monteleone Contracting. That insofar as the notice for bids listed certain items, including stucco, appliances, plumbing, that are needed at this time for the Dahlia House project, and in light of the fact that the town is unwilling to pay a 15% markup on work done by subcontractors, the town board hereby authorizes the town supervisor, with the assistance of the town building department and the town attorney, to negotiate a contract with the lowest responsible bidder for the necessary work on the Dahlia House, accepting the said unnecessary items and markup on subcontractor work at a price below listed and in no event exceeding $284,370. and that in the event that Monte Leon Contracting is unable to accept the contract terms proposed by the town, its bid will be deemed rejected, and no contract will be awarded on the bids as submitted. Could I get a motion on the resolution?
So, second.
It's a roll call vote. Councilman Flaherty.
Aye.
Councilman Leonard.
Aye.
Councilwoman Montgomery.
Aye.
Councilman Van Tassel. Aye. And I vote aye. Let the record show it was a unanimous vote on awarding the bid.
See that there's a local person from our community that got this bid as well, so
Yeah.
we know, everyone knows Mike, and I think he'll do a fine job.
Yeah, I do too. I mean, it's good to have the money stay here, and also the fact that you know somebody with a proven track record.
It's also a great day to know that construction will start, and we'll actually get our building department out of the cramped space that we're in and get everything moving at Town Hall as well.
You're not kidding. We had a sole bidder on the plumbing for the Town Hall project, and it's Wolverine Plumbing. So, I mean, I'd like to accept the bid and,
That's coming up.
oh, it's coming up, all right.
The next thing is a resolution approving the 2016 Conservation Board Annual Report and authorize Town Clerk Miranda to forward said report to New York State Department of Environmental Conservation. We do this every year.
All right, under advisement from Councilman Leonard, we're going to table this item until we,
It's due.
When is the date?
June 1st?
No, it's actually due May 1st.
Really? May 1st? I thought it was June 1st.
Well, the other one is definitely, is June 1st. I wasn't aware of the due date on this.
This is annual. Every year we do this.
Right, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's
No, I
it.
understand synopsis.
This doesn't involve the
Yeah, no,
other
no.
report. This
All right.
is
It's a
just-
list, it's a list of all of the
The
items.
meetings,
I mean-
activities.
I mean, the good part about it is it shows that this conservation board in this town works on a lot of complex issues to deal with the environment and safeguard of this town, this environment.
I
So-
mean,
but
and all of
I
this
think we might
is-
change the
All of
format
this
next
is
year.
reflected in the minutes from the Conservation Board meetings. Why do you want
That's
to
how
table it?
Well, that's how it was submitted. Obviously, the MS4 report is going to be much different in
Yeah.
style. We will look at this towards changing the style, but we'll do it next year since we're up such a deadline.
Also, and pardon me, but I think I'm just confusing the two, so we're on good ground moving ahead with this.
Yeah.
So if I could get a motion on the resolution?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And I vote aye. Thanks, Mike, for all your work with the CB.
The next item is a discussion with regard to the plumbing system for the town annex renovation project.
As I jumped the gun before and said, we had a sole bidder, so Wolverine Plumbing from Hopewell Junction. The price seems fine to me. I don't think it's worth going out and rebidding this. I mean, we want to move ahead, so with the board's support, I'd like to accept the bid from Wolverine Plumbing and offer them the work.
So moved.
You okay with that, Tina? Okay. Could I get a motion accepting the bid from Wolverine Plumbing?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And I vote aye. Thank you.
Okay, the next is a discussion with regard to the HVAC for the town hall second floor.
This did not go out to a bid. It's a tough thing to put to a bid, just because of the nature of the beast at Town Hall. We did get two prices on this work. It is within the dollar amounts where we can just go ahead and award it. I'd be comfortable awarding it. It would be a lot more comfortable with Town Hall if we award it.
Beast is the correct word.
Yeah, I mean, I think in the long run, we're gonna save money also. I mean, the cooling system and heating system on the second floor is an antique by a far cry. It needs to be taken out. We need modern equipment in there and something that doesn't deafen everybody upstairs. We're also looking to address the concerns downstairs. I think it's gonna be a lot easier when John and I install those windows, or when John installs them. But with the board's permission, I would like to proceed with the proposal from Comfort Master.
I'd make the motion.
Could I get a second on that? Second. All in favor?
Aye.
I vote aye. We had another bidder on that, Taconic Plumbing and Heating. They were slightly higher.
There's another local person from Cold Spring getting this as well, so.
They all looked at the same work, and the scope was identical between the two bids.
How far off were they?
They were maybe $2,000, so. All right.
The next item is a resolution approving the 2016 point listing for the Philipstown Volunteer Ambulance Corps LoSAP program.
Any comments from the board on this?
I'll just look through it, and we have no way to audit it. I don't see a reason to audit it. They're producing this and
We know the calls.
And they have to post it for 30 days.
Right, there doesn't seem to be anything that would catch the eye either of saying, wow, this is so far offline. These guys do a lot of calls. They provide great service. This is the very minimum that could be done for, the volunteers.
And while it's tax season, I would like to encourage all of our ambulance corps members and fire department members to apply for their volunteer tax credit before tax day, because we can't thank you enough, and that's the government's way of saying thanks for what you're doing. It's a good amount of money, the tax credit.
Good reminder, thank you. Could I get a motion on the resolution approving the LoSAP for the PVAC?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor? I vote aye.
Next item is a resolution appointing Irene McGrath as a member of the Board of Assessment Review, whose term will expire September 30th, 2019, filling the vacancy of Ann Nichter.
I think Reenie's going to be an excellent addition. Smart person, thoughtful person, vast experience in the town, excellent with financial issues.
Good experience in the area, yep.
So I would gladly entertain a resolution, a motion on the resolution appointing Irene McGrath as member of the BAR.
Second. What am I doing?
So moved.
I want to so move that.
Thank you. All in favor? And I vote aye. Thank you.
Thanks, Rainey.
Okay, the next is the Code Enforcement Monthly Report. Fees collected, $35,654.05. 35 permits issued. 2 new 1 or 2 family dwellings, the old permits closed out. 12 additions, alteration, and repairs to residential buildings. 21 all other permits, pools, sheds, decks, plumbing, HVAC, etc. 25 COs issued. 3 stop work orders issued. And inspection of commercial property, there were 2, and they were fire inspections.
All right, our thanks to Greg Wunner. I mean, I couldn't be happier with the work he's doing. The whole building department, they're just, it's, yeah, they are knocking it out, and it's just functioning at the highest level. It's been really good.
And the sign of that is I haven't had a single complaint for a long time.
No, and we used to get them. It was either you or me. I would like to schedule a workshop next week to regroup and take a look at several things at the building project. Obviously, we have an opportunity to get some money. We have money for the windows in Town Hall. We did get a bid on that. It looks like we'll be able to do it. We may have to come up with a little extra money for the installation. I don't think the installation is going to be all that crazy. I just don't. And maybe we can even do the disposal on our own. You won't have to burden somebody with that. But I'd like to go out and get some ideas from some people and come in, just take a look at it. So that'll be a discussion next week, discussing the elevator. There's been an offer from Assemblywoman Gale's office, the possibility of some funding for that. So that's exciting. We do need an elevator. So let's get together next Wednesday. And
Nobody's going away spring break? You don't have kids in school anymore, do you?
I'm not going anywhere. So next Wednesday, 7:30, we'll get together and regroup on a whole bunch of things. And talk about the Garden Club initiative also and getting them in. Well, she's not going to be coming next Wednesday. Well, unless they want to come next Wednesday. All right, let's get them in next Wednesday and let her know.
Tina, will you?
The Garden Club on the...
Karen Earl.
Karen Erdl, yeah.
You have her contact info?
Take care of our business after that.
Yeah, right. So maybe she can offer some marching orders.
So 7:30.
Yes, next Wednesday. Anything else from the board?
I need the MS4 meeting, whenever you want to do it, but sooner rather than later. You'll get the report within a day or two to review.
So when you're saying you need the MS4 meeting just as far as the
Well,
approval?
I have to have a public hearing for sure.
Right.
I mean,
So when do you want to schedule that for?
Can we do it before the May meeting, just to make it
if you
really
want,
public?
yeah,
Is that
sure, as
enough
long as we
time?
have an announced one, and we put the MS4 report up. It would be great if we could do it about a week or two ahead of time.
Great suggestion. Let's knock out 2 with one.
Yeah, it's filmed, and it's like, we really want this documented, because it's required, and
Neck's swollen up.
It's just jacked.
It's jacked all the way around. Exactly.
Jacked.
Whacked, not jacked. So then let's have the MS4 public hearing the night of the May town board meeting. We'll do it at 7:30.
Sounds exciting.
It's awesome. I'm telling you, if you haven't experienced this in the past, it's
Breathtaking.
breathtaking, exactly. All right. There's no more business before the town board tonight. Exactly. Moving on. Audience is gone, except for Julia, unless you have something you want to add to this discussion. I know the custodial staff would say, get out. That's sort of it.
A couple comments.
Sure.
Like I said, you spoke last, I'm sorry.
Microphone.
I met the other night, the other evening with Carl Frazenda, our highway superintendent, the chief of Cold Spring Fire Department, and the residents of Indian Brook Road about possibly putting rocks or barriers up to prevent parking, which we kind of decided wouldn't be a good idea, would just create more of an issue. So the idea came up to put temporary signs at both ends of the road on those large orange barriers that would say no parking the length of this road. We did discuss it at our pre-board last night, so I'm going to talk to Carl tomorrow about doing that. We'll put them out, in the high end of the season, which would be coming soon, right through probably, Labor Day or even later into the season, so while the demand is there. So, and the other thing they're encouraging is that we speak to our state officials and try to get this no parking thing on the state website, the park website. So if you go on there and look for Indian Brook Falls, it'll say there is no public parking on Indian Brook Road. So we'll need to reach out to the Park Service to do that. So.
While you're talking about that, I also talked to Barbara Scucciamaro about possibly having the trolley stop down at there as well. So I'm gonna have a meet with her in the very near future and see if we can get that as well.
And the other thing, Richard, you asked me to look into was the issue with the traffic at Craigside Drive and 9D with the crossing guard nearly getting hit, I guess. So I reached out to the Putnam County Sheriffs as well as New York State Police, and they both kind of say that the onus is really on the local police, that it's within the Village of Cold Spring, that the Village of Cold Spring would need to step up their patrol. I wish I had an opportunity to talk to the mayor this evening, but he left. But so we really need to pressure them, and if they feel that they can't cover it, then I think they would reach out to the sheriffs and to the state police for assistance. But they both kind of feel that it really lies with the local police, which is the village.
Tough issue. They got one officer on duty, and he's got to cover the entire village. And you can't spend 4 hours a day sitting in front of the school. It's
And
just
for those
not
of you that
possible.
drop your kid off early in the morning, the sheriff is literally there for the high school
The SRO,
entry.
yeah.
The SRO is there, but his duty is once school starts, he needs to be in the building, which is where we want him. So, and we do have a crossing guard there that, we just can't fix people, trying to get around the crossing guard. So.
Flashing lights there at all?
Yes, there are
There are?
12 signs down there. There are signs with flashing lights. There are multiple crossing signs. They are National School Bus Chrome. People, they just become part of the landscape to people, apparently.
I witnessed
Like
the
I said, I
sheriff with
didn't
his
even
hand
notice
out
it.
like this, stopping somebody, and the lady smiled and waved and drove right around them and into the school. And it's like, what do you do? So,
There is no cure for some of that.
but we have looked into it, just so whoever the complaint came from, they realize that we have looked into it, so.
All right, so we'll pursue that with the village and just see what they can do. I know that, the mayor's aware of it. He was in the email chain, and the school is aware of it. So anything we can do to support the effort, we're willing.
Should be brought up to the Putnam Traffic Safety Board, too.
Yeah, that's what we talked about, so that'd be great. All right, anything else?
Yeah, but no.
Okay. Vacancies, Board of Assessment Review is 0, right?
Yep, now it is.
So we're good with there. Planning Board, we're going to talk about that next Wednesday, too. We have an excellent candidate for that. We have an excellent candidate for the Conservation Board, so we're in good stead. We'll
back to 0.
remind me to bring these things up next Wednesday, though. Approval of vouchers, general.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Highway.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Continental Village Park District.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Continental Village Water District.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye, thank you.
Definitely aye. That's a big aye.